Hi and welcome to Knit All the Things. My name is Laurel. I'm also known as West Maven on Instagram at Ravelry in here. If you're new, this is a space where I talk about all the things I'm knitting, all the things I want to knit, all things yarn, just all the things. And if you're returning, welcome back Knitting Bestie. I can't wait to catch up with you. In this special episode, I'm going to share with you almost everything I knit in 2024. Some of the items I do not have because they were gifts, but we're going to go through quite a few knits. I'm hoping this can be a little bit of inspiration for you. As always, I will link the link the patterns that I'm talking about in the description box below. And I also started a newsletter. This will be the second one that I'm going to send out with a copy of all of the kind of show notes, if you will. So if you want to sign up for that, there's going to be a link below for that as well. So let's get started. The first item I completed in 2024 was my White Mountains Light sweater. This is a pattern by Midori Hirose. I held knitting for Olive Mohair in, I believe the colorway is licorice. It's either licorice or coal. It's whatever the black is. And it's held double. I really love this sweater. It's oversized. I believe that I chose the size like 5. So there was like a ton of positive ease. I have made some ranunculuses by Midori as well, and I typically use the like larger size, so I just kind of chose that one. I think if I would knit it again, I would make a smaller one, not because I don't like this or I don't wear it. I actually wear this quite often. It's really easy to just throw on, even with some leggings. It's really cute. It's not really see-through. I mean, it's kind of in the lighting that I have right now. I think you can see more than in like a typical day, but it's really nice. The kind of special thing about this sweater is that it has a compound raglan, so there's a different rate of increase on the sleeve and the body. And I think it overall just adds like such a nice, it's just such a nice cozy sweater. It definitely can be worn out. Again, I made quite a large size, so this is way oversized on me. I think that I probably tuck it in mostly and just kind of wear it like this. It has a nice long ribbing on the sleeves, and it's overall just, I love it. I feel like it's a nice big sweatshirt. It's very elegant feeling. I feel like it can be dressed up or down, and it's just one of my favorites. I actually have worn this one, probably one of the most worn sweaters this year, partially because it was finished in January, so it's had a longer lifespan than some of them, but it's definitely one that I gravitate towards. It's also because it's a very basic color. I feel like it's not like a flashy knit, but again, I love it. And I probably will make another one of these. I really enjoy the pattern. There was some, when I was knitting it, I tended to not pay attention to my increases, and so I did have to rip it back a couple of times when I was doing the yoke, but I came up with a better system as I was knitting and kind of moved through that. So there's a couple of versions of this sweater available. This is the light version. There is a heavier weight version, and then there's also modifications that are included in the pattern for making it like a vest or a shorter sleeve. So that's the White Mountains Light by Midori Hirose. I highly recommend this knit. It was really one of my favorites. Next up, I have the Kavat sweater. This is a pattern by Caitlin Hunter, and I did some modifications here. I decided to forego the baubles and just add some beads. I used Toho beads, and I believe the size, I think this is a size 8. I could have gotten a bigger bead, I think, and it would have been nice as well. But this one has a nice amount of some color work. It has some lace. It really has a nice finish, a nice pattern in the body as well. This one, I will say, I don't wear this one as much as I want to. So I really feel like this is a short sleeve sweater. I think it's only a short sleeve sweater, but what I do think I need to do is actually do sleeves for this one. I think I would wear it a lot more. It's also right to a point of where I wouldn't want this to be any shorter. It could be longer on me, but I wouldn't want it shorter. I did pick up this yarn. I got to meet Jared Flood and pick this up right when they were launching this yarn. It's the Imbue Sport yarn, and then I used, I think it's like a charcoal, and then I used Spin Cycle. It's called Mizuzu, which is more of a tonal of their colors. It does change color a little bit, but it's very subtle. And I Really loved this color combination. I think that I will add sleeves at some point. I did buy yarn after the fact that was in the same dye lot to add sleeves if I want to, so that might be in the future, just to make this a little bit more wearable. And I might even just do a little sleeve. Like, I don't even know that I need it to be longer, but there's something about it that I feel like I'm kind of fussing with it a lot. But otherwise, I do like this sweater. I do think that it's one of my more fitted sweaters, which could be why I'm personally less comfortable in it, just because I'm fussy that way. I really like kind of the oversized look, so it could be partially why I'm a little hesitant in grabbing this. But I have worn it to a few yarn events, and again, it's, I think, a very beautiful pattern. At Flock Fiber this year, I saw several of these, and I really think this pattern looks so different depending on the yarn that you choose, so I would just keep that in mind. The pattern itself was done in quite low contrast colors, and so this high contrast really adds a lot. So I'm gonna leave this one on, but we're gonna talk about my next few knits. I don't believe this list is fully in chronological order, and I don't really think that matters, but this year I did make a pattern. And so this is the Cozy Slouchy Socks by me. And this was the kind of original one that I did. I did a short version in case people were interested in that, just to kind of see how it looked. And then I did two more. So this first one was a Shirley Bryan sock set with, I believe it's Cashmere Treats mohair. And then the second one was All Ritual Dyes. It is the colorway with Fedora, and I can't remember this colorway, but I'll put it in. It's kind of a greenish yellow, and it would be a color that I wouldn't normally like choose for myself, but I thought it looked really nice with the blue, and given that it's a sock and not like a sweater, I thought it was a fun time to use it. And then for the third pair, I did Teal Torch Knits. Her colorway, I think it's Neon Melon, and then Floro Morganite Kumo by La Bien-Aimée. And these ones, let me tell you, are like, they're so nice. I really like the suri with it, but it doesn't give the same kind of scrunched effect as using the mohair. So I think both are really nice. They're just very different. And so that was 3 of my projects I did this year. Next up, we have the Pyramid Light. This is a pattern by Mini Me Knitwear Design. And this one I like a lot. It's a very bright color. Again, it's the short sleeve where I do kind of feel, I don't know, I always just fuss with them, I think. I do have more yarn, like a little bit more, where I could lengthen the sleeve. I do think the length of the sweater, again, this is just like honestly maybe an inch longer than the Kavat, and it feels less fussy, if that makes sense. So I do think that it's like all these little things we learn about ourselves as we knit. And this one I really enjoyed. This was a test knit. It has a really nice shaping. You end up knitting it, I want to say you knit it inside out. I want to say that you do. So that even though there's a lot of purling right here, you're knitting it inside out. The colorway is called Hummingbird, and this is by Treehouse Knits. It's her sport weight. I actually started testing this sweater in a different yarn, and I was just really unhappy with it. So I ended up switching to this one. I think it's a really fun sweater. Again, I feel like Portland's weather doesn't allow us to have like as much like of the wool sweater weather for me, because I feel like it's really cold, you're wearing long sleeve sweaters, and then as soon as it gets warm, people want to be wearing definitely lighter weight clothing. And so I think just that opportunity for wearing tees that are made out of wool is a little smaller. So I didn't wear this one as much, but I did grab it a couple of times. I'm gonna leave this one on to share my next. So I made this hat for my son. It's called the Mini Take Heart. This is a pattern by Fiona Alice. And I think, I don't want to really stretch it, but I think I could almost wear it. This is the largest size. And this pattern was in Mini Pom Pom. It was a book that they put out of their kids' patterns, that they took kind of grown-up patterns and made kid-size versions. I really like this. Both my kids have this hat. They really love it. They love the pom on top. The yarn that I used was Wensleydale by Albina May, and then the colorway Royal Blue. And again, it just has this beautiful cable pattern with like hearts. It's really a nice hat. I really like it a lot. I actually need to make myself one of these, but I thought I would leave it. I think it would be cute. Okay, I made a hat for my other son, and I don't have it here, but it was the first time that I had made the Stockholm Hat by PetiteKnit, and I really enjoyed it. I used Wensleydale as well. I used the colorway Lush. It's a really beautiful green, and I really have, I noticed, and it's something that I would like to do in the future, so I would love to knit a sweater in the Wensleydale. It's so soft. It has a beautiful bloom. The colors are so rich. Like, I really love this yarn, and I would love, love, love to make a garment out of it for sure in the future. So it was definitely something that was really nice to use, like such a, to me, kind of fancy, beautiful yarn for a hat to test it out. And 100%, I would love to have a sweater or a cardigan in it. I think it would be really, really nice. Next up, I have my No Limits sweater. This is a pattern from the book Close Knit by Larky Bagger. And this one, I was trying to challenge myself to get this done for my birthday, and spoiler alert, it just didn't happen. There was a lot of stuff going that week, but I love this sweater. It is just made with scraps. Some of the things that I learned about this sweater and some things to keep in mind if you're gonna make it, I use in some places probably like, I don't know, I'm sure there's spots in this sweater where I have like 5 strands going, whether or not they're fingering and lace or whatever is happening with it, but it is a very thick sweater. Now, this is great because I've been using it a lot more in the winter, but when I first made it, I didn't wear it at all. Now I've been wearing it quite a bit more, and I really do like it. I think it's still fun. It might be controversial, but I also really like the other side of it with all the holes and things happening, or knots happening, but I really like this one. I kind of used the, I think it was the ATS method. I can't remember what that stands for right now. Maybe Alone Together sweater. So I think it's where you just add a random strand of something as you go. And I'm happy that I did this. I had some sparkle in here, which I thought was really nice. And I love this sweater. I did some things where I certainly tried to micromanage a little. The sleeves are not the same. They're similar-ish. I used a black on all of the kind of finishings. So there's more black here at the end of the sleeve. And then there's black here. This is knit bottom up. You do some short row shaping to give yourself a nice rounded shape of sweater, which I thought was really interesting. There's a couple of different options in this pattern, whether or not you're more advanced or a beginner, to try to make it easier and so that everybody can make the sweater, but maybe you want to approach it in a different way. I think, I'm trying to remember, I did the more advanced version, which I think meant that I just started knitting the sweater and then I went back and picked up to knit the hem. And again, I did that black on the bottom, kind of just to add a little cohesion to it. I really love her neck. It's a folded neck, and it just turned out really, really nice. Again, you would just pick this up and then fold it over. And I think I crocheted it down. I can't really remember, but I think that's what happened. I love that I added sparkle, like I said, and it's just sparse. So you're just gonna catch just a little subtle sparkle here and there. And I really, really like this sweater a lot. It's like all the colors I love. There's yarn from projects that I made in here and just stuff like that I really like. Next up, we have my Feel Good shawl. This is a pattern by Andrea Mowry. It uses 5 skeins of DK weight yarn. It's quite large, and I was questioning, I feel like I probably blocked it, but I'm actually wondering if I just steamed it out or if I actually blocked it. I cannot remember. I picked the yarn out during the Rose City yarn crawl, and I was able to meet up with a friend during that, which was really special to me, and pick out some of this yarn. This yarn is all by Yarn Nouveau, and it's really, really just such nice yarn. I cannot remember the colors, but again, I will link everything below. It's kind of reversible. I think this is actually, yeah, that's the back. This is the kind of front. You have double, he's like double knit brioche, double brioche, 2-color brioche, 1-color brioche. There's like a lot of brioche going on. So if you love brioche, you will love this shawl. It's so warm and cozy. I really love these colors. I find them very grounding and like just so nice. I chose the color selection and where things went, so I decided to keep the colors that I thought would look nicest towards my face. And I also would say that this one is definitely more of like, I hate to say this, but like worn like a granny shawl, like this way, because it is so big and warm that like if I'm editing a video or something and I want to just throw something over my shoulders, I will use this. I don't wear it out as much because it is so big that I feel a little like swallowed by putting it around my neck. But again, that's me being weird. So this is the Feel Good Shawl by Andrea Mowry. The yarn again is by Yarn Nouveau, and it really is special. I really love it. And this was one of the projects. I don't always do this, but I specifically bought the yarn to make this project. And at the time, I actually hadn't intended upon making this, but I had lost my dog, and so I needed like a comforting knit, and this was perfect in the time that I needed it. So again, I really love it. It does make you feel good. It makes you feel good knitting it. It makes you feel good wearing it. Brioche is so squishy that it really is like a lovely wearing shawl. But because it is so large, I don't grab it to go out. I just grab it to wear at home. So that's the Feel Good Shawl by Andrea Mowry. Okay, next up is my Albina. This is a pattern by Caitlin Hunter, and I begged to test this one. I did make some modifications, so if mine looks different than what you're used to, that would be why. I chose to do wider stripes, and so if you buy the pattern, double the amount of stripes, double the amount of rows you knit, and it will be the same. I also decided that I was going to stop striping just a few rows before I got to neck shaping, and then just leave it the darker color. And then I continued that by not starting the stripes until after the first decrease. So hopefully that helps if you're going to make something similar. I really loved this sweater. It was really super fast to knit, and it's very comfortable to wear. It's a cotton sweater. It's cotton and alpaca. It's Illimani Sabri 2, I believe. And so it's an organic cotton and I think 15% alpaca. So it wears really nice. It's very comfortable. It's a very almost commercial looking sweater, I would say. It is knit from the bottom up. Is it knit from the bottom up? I believe it's knit from the bottom up. And then I think you pick up and work the sleeves in the round. So I really like it. I think it's a nice sweater. It's very simple, but I think it wears really well. And it's really, like, I could knit 100 of these. There's so many variations you could use with this pattern. It's very simple, like drop shoulder pattern. And I think you could do a lot with it. So again, highly recommend this one. I think it is a great fun sweater to knit. I think I'm gonna go a little bit out of order in the way things knit. Like I said, I'm not trying to necessarily go chronologically, but I think these will look nicer up against the sweater rather than some of the other ones. So I made the scarflet, the Painting with Beads by Poppy Vergara. Hopefully I'm saying that right. It is a really cute pattern. I loved knitting with beads. I really can't say enough nice things about that. You can double, having a hard time. You can double wrap it around twice and tie, wrap it around, I don't know, however it is. Like that. Here you go. It basically is charts for one side. I think there's charts for both sides of the scarf, but it's essentially like mirrored. And it's really easy. It was super fun. It was a very fast knit. I used the Mizuzu from Spin Cycle, like the leftover that I had for my Kavat in this, and a mohair that was left over from another shawl I'm going to show in just a moment. So it was kind of like a leftovers project, and I had some of the beads, but I also bought some beads as well, and they're very easy to find online, but I'll add that information below if you'd like. This one is really cozy around your neck. I actually often use it just as like a decorative like scarf on my bag a lot of times, just to like always have a little knitting with me, if you will. But I think it also looks nice styled like this. And then, because I'm showing you the mohair in this, I'm gonna kind of switch over to my other project that I use the same mohair. This is my Adria shawl. This is by Inez Sang or I Sing Knits. This one, the second I saw it, I wanted to knit it. She also has a sweater. If it's not out now, it's coming out. I've seen her kind of teasing it. So if you like this kind of striping pattern, I believe it's gonna have that. This one is amazing. So I used yak silk. Actually, the whole thing is yak silk with a mohair held double. And I used Ching Fibers Moody 3 for the main color. And then Lola Bean Yarns yak silk as well. And then held it with mohair. The main color mohair I used, I think it's called Powder by Knitting for Olive. I think it's the colorway Powder in their mohair silk. And then I think the mohair for both of the shawls I just showed were from Yarn Nouveau. So I really liked it a lot. I don't grab this as much. I don't know why. I think I just don't think of it. Because even though it's very large, because it's fingering weight, you can kind of bunch it up quite a bit. It is very large. But again, once you're wearing it, I feel like it kind of shrinks. It doesn't feel as bulky as like the Feel Good. But this one, I think I just don't have it like near my coat or something to grab it to go out, because I do love it a lot. I love everything about this. It has beautiful lace sections, and it just is such a beautiful, beautiful knit. I really am proud of this one. You do some color work flat, so if you're unfamiliar with that, I feel like it was quite an easy way to kind of learn that. And yeah, I love this. I am tempted to knit the sweater as well, but probably not for a while, because I just did this. And this was a lot of knitting. This was, I don't know, fingering weight. Like I probably could have almost knit a sweater in the amount of yarn I used for this, I'm guessing. So it is a lot of yarn, and for that reason, I'm not in a rush to kind of make the sweater, because sometimes I think knitting a fingering weight project or fingering in mohair, depending on the gauge, can be quite a bit of knitting. And so I like to mix it up. I like to have some fingering weight projects, some DK weight projects, some like just always something a little bit different. So that is my Adria shawl by I Sang Knits. This is my Cloud blouse by PetiteKnit. I used Noro Ichiwa yarn. I can't remember the colorway right now. I like this one a lot. Some things I don't like about it. I really like my sleeves to be long. I think ran out of yarn. I don't think I have any of this yarn left. So it is what it is. Like I used two, like they have big, I think 150 or 200 gram balls, and I used two of them. So in theory, I guess if it really bothered me, I could sort of shorten the sweater, but I don't know that I would really shorten it at all. I think I just have to like deal with the sleeves. Maybe do them a little differently. I also think had I made them just a tiny bit thinner, that it would have been fine. And maybe that will be a modification if I made a second one, or just something to keep in mind if you're gonna make this. I also think, in theory, I could tear out the sleeves and try to modify it so they're slightly slimmer, or they taper, because I think you just knit them straight out. I don't think there's any tapering, so I could taper them and I would probably have enough. I really should do that, is what I should do. But for now, It is what it is. I like the color a lot. To me, it's a lot of color. It's a lot lighter than I would typically wear. So I don't think that it's the most flattering, given that it's kind of washes me out a little bit, which could be also why I don't grab it all the time, but I do grab it. It's a cotton sweater, so this is perfect for a lot of the year in Oregon. So I really should alter the sleeves and make it something that will fit me, and maybe that's something that I need to learn for 2025, is to actually make things that are wearable, or things that I've already made, make them fit so that I will wear them more often, because I think it's a very nice sweater. I really like how it turned out. And yeah, I think if I altered the sleeves, I would be in love with this sweater, but it's just okay. Which I feel bad saying, but it's my honest review. It's not bad. I've thrown it on to like do a school run and stuff like that. But if I were really to be super picky and to make it like my favorite sweater, I would have to do something about the short sleeve. It just bugs me. Like, I feel like it just needs to be longer, and I think it can be, now that I talked it through with you guys. Okay, next up is my Cumulus tee by PetiteKnit. This is a fingering weight V-neck sweater, knit. I don't know if it's knit from the bottom. I think it must be knit from the top down, I'm guessing. So there's a lot of flat knitting, because you basically knit the yoke flat and then you knit around for the body. I want to say that I've worn this a lot. I honestly forget about it, which is terrible, because this sweater took me forever to knit. It's knit on the world's tiniest needles. It's black, so I should just gravitate towards it. But I just forget about it, which is like not saying a lot. Like, I really wanted a black tee. It is something I knit, so I guess if I were to go to a meetup with other knitters, I would probably throw it on. But given the amount of effort and the amount of time it took to knit, it really, to me, didn't pay off. Not to say, like, I probably would never make this again. I don't think I would, because I feel like there's more fun patterns to knit and more just, I don't know. It's fine. I wish I could say that it took me forever and I absolutely am so in love with it, so happy that I made it, but I'm just not really. And I guess it is what it is. It's not bad. I think it's really nice. It fits well. It is made with Knitting for Olive pure silk. The yarn was amazing to knit. I really enjoyed knitting with it. I feel like I had bought an extra ball of yarn. I had, I think, a ball left over, and that was probably just me deciding to make sure I had enough. But it's okay. Like, it's not my favorite. It's not the worst. It's just not my favorite. I should just set it on top of all of my clothes to like remind myself that it's there. And maybe because I feel, I don't know when I finish this, but I want to say it was like in the hot heat of summer, like August or something. So it was probably super hot, and so I didn't like grab it even though it was a new knit. So maybe this year in the spring, summer, it will get a lot more love and a lot more attention. And again, that happens a lot. Like, I noticed my like 2023 knits were worn considerably more this year, just because I had lived with them a little bit. I kind of knew how I wanted to style them, and I think that just happens to me. A lot of people will finish something and wear it a ton, and I think I need to like sit with it a while. Like, I need some distance from the project. I don't know, but I tend to wear my previous years like considerably more after the fact, after I've had some time with them. So again, this is the Cumulus tee by PetiteKnit. I will also say this pattern I have had almost the longest. Like, I've had this one, I purchased it before she was on Ravelry, and so it is the only one that I can think of right now that is not size inclusive. It does go up to, I think, a 3X or something, or maybe just a double X, but I would say that would be also kind of a negative to it. But again, I don't know that if I were knitting a size larger than a medium, which I think is what I knit, but I would really want to knit it, because you're just knitting forever on the tiniest needle. I don't know if it's like enough bang for your buck on that one. But it is cute. It's a plain black tee. I think it has some nice finishes. You have a nice I-cord edge. You have, you know, just cute little, very simple, very nice, very elegant. The raglans are really nice. I feel like it's a nicely done pattern. certainly. It's just not one that I would probably do again. This sweater I'm insanely proud of. This is the Pina Colada top by Laura Zucate. I decided after much deliberation not to knit sleeves and just finish them with ribbing, which I'm so happy I did. I actually love the way this one fits. I love everything about it. I'm so glad that I did because it did take a very long time and it was just a difficult pattern for me. It's all over intarsia. You knit from the bottom up and then you're knitting, like even where you're knitting to like have this meet, like it takes some time. I'm really proud of this one though. I'm really happy that I knit it. I love the colors that I chose. I used Issair Alpaca 1 for the black, and then I used Yarn Nouveau's Sport Weight for the blue and the colorway Sapphire. And again, it is a favorite. I do love this one so much. I do treat it a little bit preciously because I don't want to, I guess, have a chance that it gets ruined, which I don't know how it would. Maybe a snag would bum me out, but I really love it. I really love it. It fits nicely. I don't feel like it's too short or too long or anything like that. Again, this one's a short sleeve, but it doesn't bother me. Like I guess I'm fussing it with it as I'm wearing it just because I'm trying to get it to sit nicely. But I really love it. It's also so lightweight and flowy that it just makes such a nice fabric. I'm really happy with this one. I'm really proud of this knit. It was my most challenging knit this year, I would say, hands down, no competition. It was my hardest knit this year, but I'm happy that I did it. And I felt like I learned a lot. It took a lot of patience. This was not travelable, so I had to really sit and concentrate on it. And so for that, it was good in different ways. But yeah, I'm really proud of this one. Really proud of this one. So I made several knits for my kids. I had shown you the hat. I made the Lyon Sweater Junior by PetiteKnit twice. So this was for my youngest. And all of the colors are by Spun Right Round, except for this blue, which was in my stash. Fun story on that a little bit later. I was looking for this blue. I was trying to find it the other day and I couldn't find it because I was going to use it for some gloves. And I was like, I know I had that somewhere, and I just found out where it went. Okay, so this is the Lyon Sweater Junior by PetiteKnit. It has a really fun construction. You start on the back, you knit the shoulders, and then you stop and you pick up and you knit each side in the front, and then you pick up around the shoulders. You knit flat for just a tiny bit. Yeah, I think you knit flat for just a tiny bit, and then you continue on in the round. But I really enjoyed this construction so much. This is, I think, I made 2 this year, but I think I also made 2 last year. I really like this sweater a lot. You could make it plain, and you certainly could switch up how thick the stripes are, but I love it. So this one is for my oldest son. I actually knit the same size for both kids because they're about the same size. This one I ran out of the blue yarn, so I just switched to an orange. And other than that, they are knit exactly to pattern. I actually was really surprised how much I liked this green sweater. At first I was like, oh, it's gonna be bright. It's gonna be a bright one. But I actually really like it a lot. And I love the solid stripes with the variegated yarn. I think turned out super nice. And it's a good way if you wanted to use your variegated yarn for a sweater, but you don't want it to be overwhelming. I do think the stripes certainly grounded it in both of the sweaters. So that's the Lyon Sweater Junior by PetiteKnit. And it's still on my list to knit one of these for myself. I really love this sweater so much. It goes by really quickly because the gauge is like it's a nice gauge. But I really enjoyed this one quite a bit. Okay, next up I made the Aureliano sweater. The pattern was gifted to me by Claudia Quintanilla. I love this one. I think it turned out so nice. I think the fit is really nice. I made a lot of mistakes. It really had nothing to do with the pattern. I just was like, I guess not paying attention. One of the mistakes I made was I had ended the sweater way too early. It was like much shorter. And actually, even if I look at it like this, it would have been fine. Like I could wear it, no problem. But I like to be able to tuck. a little tiny tuck. And so just having it be like, honestly, that extra repeat made me so much happier. And then I ran out of yarn, and I'm pretty sure that was on me. I bet you my gauge is off, but I ran out of the main color and also wanted the sleeves to be extra long. I definitely didn't want them to be too short. So probably I ended up going longer than the pattern, but I love how it turned out and I'm so happy. I would knit this again, and I kind of plan to. I just really can't say enough nice things about it. I wear this one quite a bit just because it is so easy and comfortable to throw on, and I think it's kind of an impressive knit. I also made stockings for my kids and my husband this year. And so I used the pattern Holiday Doodle by Jamie Lomax, and I used the pattern just picking different motifs for my kids. And then I used the pattern and chose the motifs from her 8-bit hat to make my husband's stocking. And instead of making it, so I made the 8-bit stocking sort of for my husband. This doesn't exist, but if you buy each pattern, you can kind of mash them together. The repeats for the patterns easily pop into the stocking, and the only kind of tip I would give you is to flip them over. So in the hat, a hat you would knit this way, and so if you would have done that, everything would have been upside down, so you just want to flip it. And then another cute thing I think would have been cute, I just kind of made this motif up, but if you didn't want obviously this, I think it would have been super cute to have the Pac-Man going the other direction. So I'm really happy with how this turned out. This I used Teal Torch Knits, a mini kit from them, and then Blue Fiber Co. I think it's Blue Fiber Co. They're like neon yellow cashmere, so it's a really nice stocking. And then for the kids, I used Cascade 220 and just their kind of off-white color. And then I used Plymouth Yarns, I think Pine, Red, Wine, and it's like Goldenrod or something. Sunflower, Goldenrod, one of those. I really like how these turned out. I also made the 8-bit hat for my husband. I just don't have it. Trying to get all the knits away from everyone after I've given them, like, kind of is impossible. I also made some random other things. I made a dog sweater and a dog hat. The dog hat was a little bit of a fail. It was a really cute pattern, it's free. But it didn't really fit my dog because his head is really so small and his fur is so slick that it just didn't want to stay. It doesn't work very well for him. I think on a larger dog it would be absolutely adorable. I thought of torturing my one puppy and making him a hat as well, just to compare if it's user error or what. It's a free pattern, so I don't think, the person who made the pattern has definitely a different breed dog, and so I'm sure skulls and shapes and stuff are a little bit different, although she gives a lot of recommendations on sizing. I struggled a little. And then I just made the scrappy Lucky Dog sweater. This is I don't know if it's a free pattern or not. I want to say it is not a free pattern, but again, I'll link everything below. So, things I learned this year, because I think we ran out of items to share, only because we did. I made 37 videos last year. I ended up I estimated this, about 91 skeins of yarn. Now, that doesn't mean that they were necessarily fully used or whatever, but it was like what the pattern called for, so that's what I'm going off of. I typically would say that I probably used whatever the pattern suggested. So 91 skeins of yarn seems like a ton of yarn, but I think in the scheme of things and the amount of items that I made, that doesn't seem like a lot. I made 34 items. That ended up being 13 sweaters, which I'm counting it as 13, but we can really say 11 and 2 baby sweaters because I think those are kind of too small to really solidly fall in that sweater category. 3 tops, meaning short sleeve tops, and then I made 4 hats, 3 pairs of socks, and 6 shawl cowl scarf situations, and 3 stockings. So I made quite a lot of things, and I really think that part of the reason that happened was because I had a lot of like big feelings this year, let's call it. And so knitting my feelings a little bit. Definitely aided to the amount of items. I think though the previous year I knit like 30, around 30. So about the same-ish. I did a lot of like the stockings, I feel like are smaller items, and hats, and I want to say that my biggest like knitting month was the month of December when I did the 3 stockings, a hat, I finished the sweater, and I felt like there was one other thing besides that. So I made the most amount of things in the month of December because they were gifts. Oh, the penny gloves. So I made 3 pairs of gloves, 2 stockings, 3 pairs of gloves, 3 stockings, a hat, and then finished the sweater. So that's a lot of items for the last month of the year. So I don't think I will do that again. I don't think I will need to because a lot of those things are kind of one-time, one-off things like the stockings. So I may make myself a stocking next year and then no more stockings, probably for quite a while. So yeah, there's a lot of things that I learned as far as fit. I really love how this sweater fit. This one kind of follows my traditional like sizes I choose for my knitting because I could have made this smaller for my body. I had the option of, I think, knitting a size 2 and it probably would have been fine, but it would have been much more fitted. And then I think in that way I wouldn't have loved it as much as I love it now. So really kind of staying true to like sizing and things I enjoy, feel comfortable in, really has lent a lot to what I'm choosing to wear. I also really want to kind of use, everybody says this every year, use your stash. I actually have in my stash, I have sweater patterns and yarn all together that I really want to make. Like I genuinely am excited to still make those items. I just get distracted very easily by new things. And so I would really like to do that. This year, I feel like a lot of my, not all, but there was a considerable amount of new knits, like new pattern coming out or testing or whatnot. And I think that can definitely take me off track. And so this year I hope that I will be kind of choosing to do both a little bit more. An old pattern that I'm excited about and balancing it a little bit better. And I think doing that will just naturally lend to me using more of my stash. I hope you guys really enjoyed this video and I can't wait to hear what your favorite knit that you made was. And if you have any favorites or this inspired you to cast on something special for yourself. If we're not yet knitting besties, make sure to hit the subscribe button and like this video. It tells YouTube that other fiber enthusiasts like yourself enjoy this type of content. Until next time, make some yarn magic.